Yes, that is a very valid question, and I think it's a very relevant question to any person who is going for any kind of an IQ test, whether it might be CAT or a GMAT. It's a good question you asked. Now, even if in many of the classes I have said, you should be never be adopting, or you should never be taking the strategies which have been told by the teachers. And I think you have so many toppers telling you many strategies, influencers are there who are telling you the strategies, toppers are telling you, teachers are telling you different strategy. Different teacher will tell you a different strategy. And an idea of an IQ test is, uh, there can be your question can be fixed, your solution can be fixed, your solution can be precise answer, whether it is an A or a B or a C. You will have a precise answer, but the approach can differ. And why the approaches will differ is, you every person will have their own strategy, their own approaches. Now, in your case, as a student, a teacher will be telling their own strategies based on their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so the idea is never to adopt a strategy. You should listen to the strategy. You should experiment with the strategy. If the experts are telling, you should always experiment with the strategy, but you should not blindly follow a strategy. Why you shouldn't be blindly following a strategy? See, let me put it in this way. I think that thing will make you understand the whole thing much better. See, every person, if you say, has a very distinct, uh, what do we call the word? The right word would be, I think, the intellectual. What we call it, capital, and I think the better word would be equity. Okay, so every person has a different intellectual equity. What is intellectual equity? Basically, it means in a product. If you're a marketing student, uh, we call it USP of a product. USP of a product is unique selling proposition of a product. Now, every human being, even let's see a human being as a product. Okay, just in kind of a we will just visualize a person as a product. Now, I'll not call it selling proposition in human thing. I'll call it intellectual proposition, or I will call it intellectual. What the better would be, the positioning in the world. Okay, the intellectual equity of every person would be very different and very unique. So, what are the intellectual equity? What are the things which will make an intellectual equity? So, the first word which will come to you would be the IQ level. Okay, the IQ level is the intelligence quotient level of every person would be different. Okay. Now, the second most important thing would be, let's say, the knowledge part. Now, the knowledge part of every person will be in a way different. So, what will happen is, the third thing, which will be most thing, the third important thing would be the application skills. Okay, you what do you mean by application skills? Let me put it in this way. Okay, you have a good IQ, you have a good knowledge about a thing, but many of the people lack in application skills. I'll give an example. You may be very good in physics, but when you are applying that knowledge to anything, you may be very bad in it. So one thing is my intelligence. The second thing is my knowledge. Let's say, I'll put it in, what is the difference between intelligence and in knowledge? In the knowledge, let's say if I ask you, who is the Prime Minister of Finland, let's say, who is the president of Poland right now, you may not know. So what exactly you're lacking here is a knowledge part. Even if you are very good IQ level, you may lack in the knowledge. So there's a difference between the IQ, there's a difference between the knowledge, and there's a difference between the application skills. I may have a knowledge, but I may lack a application skills. Okay. What is the next thing which will come to mind in intellectual equity would be your hard work. Even the hard work will matter. Okay. Your I would say, what is a better word? The practicing part. Oh, obviously, the practice part will make you different. Okay. And the most important in intellectual attitude, the thing is the attitude. What I mean by attitude, I will call it attitude to excel. Now you may say, now when I talk about the IQ level, very important thing, the knowledge part, you should know the thing, you should know how to apply, you should be working hard, practicing into it, and so the application skills get more and more polished. But the most important thing in life and in anything is the attitude to excel. Why it is the most important thing? Just an attitude will take you much beyond the things. Even a good attitude, I would say the attitude to excel is a basic, I would say, the necessity of any person who is going to do well in anything in the life. The idea of life is not to be the best in CAT or a GMAT or MBA or anything. The idea of life is to do best in whatever you're doing. Okay, even if you are a good cook, you should be the best cook in the world. So the point what I'm trying to say, the attitude to excel is a very important aspect which will come to help you in every domain in the life. So coming back to the point what I was making was, the intellectual equity of a person is the IQ level, the knowledge, the application skills, the practice, the hard work you're doing there, and an attitude to these all things makes an intellectual equity of yours. And these all things will lead you to one thing called, I will call it, I will not call it USP because it's a product thing. I'll call it UP. UP means unique proposition. Yeah, unique. You may call it your positioning. Unique positioning, you may call it, or you may call it unique proposition. What exactly it means is the strategies depends upon your intellectual equity. And when you are uniquely positioned, you have a unique proposition with yourself, your strategy would be unique. Now the idea is, as a student, if I would be there and I'm listening to our teachers, what I should be doing I should be listening to teachers, experiment with it, but never adopt it, never follow it, never take it blindly. I meant to say, why the point I'm saying is, an expert cannot make an expert. Okay, a Sachin Tendulkar will not be able to make his son Sachin Tendulkar. Reason being, he may give him the knowledge, he may give him application skills, he may make him work hard, but the attitude to excel and the IQ level is unique to that person. So the point what I'm trying to say is, your unique proposition will make a unique strategies. Now let me give you an example. At EduShastra, what actually many of the times what happens is, one topic is being taught by around 2 to 3 teachers, and many of the people will say to you that, sir, we were already taught, let's say, work in time, and one more teacher is taking it. Now the idea in IQ test is, if you are being taught by only one teacher, what exactly is happening is, actually you are looking at a thing, looking at a unique proposition of that person, and that person unique placement or positioning is very much different, or it's the person's intellectual equity is very much different from yours. So what you are doing is, you are adopting the same strength and weakness of a person who is teaching you actually. So any student should never adopt, look at 2 3 experts or 4 5 experts, and then experiment with all the strategies he has learned in the class, and then he should make his own strategy. And how the strategies will come? With your practice. When you will practice, your strategies will come. You will know that these things work for me, these things will not work for me. I'll give an example, you will understand it better. Examples will make it better, so that you will. This is one of the comprehension I gave you for the homework. Okay, now I'm talking about this question. This comprehension was asked just around 2 3 months from now in one of the slots. Okay, one of the biggest IQ test, and I think slot 3 had this comprehension, the nutmeg curse. Now in this thing, I'll just show you how 2 different strategies will actually change the whole game. In one of the thing, I'll show you, many of the teachers will teach you, and I'm not saying what is wrong and right. Many of the teachers, they have their own way of putting it, so it might be different with the different teachers. So there is no one is right or wrong. The point what I'm trying to say is, you will have now in this passage, when you look at carefully, there is a question and the answers you have. Many of the teachers, now I'll talk about two different strategies. Listen to it very carefully, okay? The one strategy many of the teachers will put it across to you is go into the questions, go read the question, go into every of the answer choices, and then move into the passage so that you know what you're searching for. The point what I'm saying, the first strategy is I'll go through the question. The question is which one of the following best explains the primary purpose or the main idea of the discussion of the colonization of the Banda Islands in the Nutmeg Curse. Nutmeg Curse is it's a passage, it's a topic of a passage, and it was taken in the one slot 3, I think it was taken in the around just 2-3 months from now in one of the very good IQ test. Okay. Now, one strategy is go through the answers before moving to the passage. Go through the answer choices. And the other teacher, I as a teacher, I always believe that you should never go to the options before reading the passage. The point what I'm saying is I'm talking about two different strategies now. The one strategy says read the answer choices or the 4 answer choices before moving to the passage, so you are much more guided in finding the answers. But in an IQ test, as a teacher, what I say is never go into the answer options. You should know the question, but you shouldn't be knowing what are the answer choices which is given before moving into the passage. Why, as a teacher, I say in an IQ test, every person will have a different kind of a attention span. Attention, I would say, some people would be able to keep their attention all throughout the passage. Some people will read the first passage very, very well and the rest passage badly. So what will happen is their own intellectual equity will give them different kind of challenge and different kind of a situation. So what will happen is if you have read the first part of the passage very well, and let's say the next part you were not able to read it very well, you will have a very different answer. So in an IQ test, what will happen is, even if you are reading the whole passage very carefully, if you know the answers beforehand, let's say all the answer choices beforehand, it will actually cloud your decision actually. The point as I'm saying is, you should know the question, but you shouldn't know the answer option. And when you have read the passage and when you read the question, before moving to the answer choices, you must always predict the answer. When you're predicting the answer, your accuracy will be close to 100%. Once more, I'm repeating my point. One strategy which I am telling as a teacher is read the question, read the passage, but before moving into the answer choices, you must predict the answer. Then only you must go to the reason behind that is in an IQ test, what will happen is all the answer choices are actually, can be a situation that all the answer choices are right. And at different part of the passages, all the answer choices will look very much correct to you. So what exactly happens in the test environment is test atmosphere or that ambience is, you're already, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of time pressure. In the time pressure, what they will do is, the time pressure, when you have to do out of the, even with one passage, when you're completing, you would be completing half of the time of your test. So the second passage, and there are 4 passages, you would be in a situation that you would be constrained with the time. You would have a pressure of the time. What exactly will happen is you will do mistakes. Now, how you will do mistakes is, let's say if you know the answer beforehand, you have the answer choices beforehand, and you are going to the passage after that, what exactly is going to happen is you will do mistakes. So the best strategy according to my view, so I'm talking about 2 strategies now, I'm repeating the strategy. First strategy is go to the answer choices, read the answer choices before moving to the passage. The second strategy I'm going to talk about is don't read the answer choices and predict an answer before moving into the answer choices. I'll just give an example once more. I'll use this passage as a kind of experiment. Okay. Now this was one of the comprehension. I just will read it through so that you will understand. The biggest challenge, I'm going just reading the passage, okay? The biggest challenge the nutmeg curse by Ghosh throws down is a prevailing understanding of when the climate crisis started. They're talking about some climate crisis. Most of us have accepted that it started with the widespread use of the coal at the beginning of the industrial age in the 18th century, and the worsened with the mass adoption of oil and natural gas in the 20th. So obviously, that's a very relevant point that coal and the petroleum use actually worsened the climate. It's a very easy to understand till now. But the coach, the author we are talking about, take this history at least 3 centuries back to 3 centuries back to the start of the European colonialism in the 15th century. He starts the book with the 1621 massacre by the Dutch invaders determined to impose a monopoly on the nutmeg cultivation. Nutmeg is a kind of spice. Okay, हमारे हिंदी में बोलते हैं जावित्री, I think जावित्री we call it. बहुत स्पाइसी यूज होता है, इट्स a medicinal value भी काफी है इसका. And trade in the Banda Islands in the today's Indonesia. Not only the Dutch systematically depopulate the islands through genocide, they try their best to bring nutmeg cultivation into the plantation mode. Let's say if I have read this passage till here, let's say till here, and let's say I am moving into the answer choices. Now, when you look at the answer choice, till now, this looks like an answer. I'll just read it for you. To illustrate how systematic violence against the colonized constituted the cornerstone of colonialism. Now that we are talking about the Dutch, and we are talking about the violence they used against the native population. So the idea, till now, if we'll go with this, the first choice looks like the right answer to me. Now, I move further. These are the 2 points in which Ghosh returns through examples from around the world. One, how European colonialists decimated not only indigenous population, but also indigenous understanding of the relationship between humans and earth. 2, how this was an invasion to not only of humans, but of the earth itself, and how it continues to the present day by looking at the nature as a resource to exploit. The point they're saying is, till now, what I'm able to understand, or what the author is trying to say is, we are not talking about the colonialism in which you use violence to, subdue some persons and all. What they say is the climate exploitation started much beyond it when the Europeans, the British, or the Dutch, or the French people invaded the countries and changed their ecology and asked them to cultivate some particular spice, which even happened in India. So what exactly Mr. Ghosh is the author is trying to say is that the climate change, or I would say the invasion of the climate, started much beyond the use by the use of coal or petroleum, present as a resource to exploit. We know we are facing more frequent and more severe heat waves, storms, floods, droughts, wildfires due to the climate change. We know about expansion through deforestation, dam building, canal cutting, in short terraforming. The word Ghosh uses has brought us repeated disasters. So the point the author is saying is, because of that, the things which we had done, we are having the climate issues right now, or the weather issues. Are these the responses of an angry Gaia? I think it might be an angry Gaia, means might be God, who has finally had enough. By using the word curse in the title, the author makes it clear what he thinks so. The use of the pronoun who knowingly, because Ghosh has quoted many known European sources to inquire into the relationship between humans and the world around them, so that he can question the prevalent way of looking at the earth as an inert object to be exploited to the maximum. As Ghosh text, notes, and bibliography shows once more, none of this is new. There has always been challenges to the way European colonialists looked at the other civilizations and at Earth. Right now, it is making sense. Okay, the point the author, Mr. Ghosh, is trying to say is the invasion by Europeans and asking the local population to cultivate a particular kind of a spice which they needed for the trade and everything, and because of that, the environment, the ecology of that thing changed. There has always been challenges to the way European colonialists looked at other civilizations. It is just that the invaders and their myriad backers in the field of economics, politics, anthropology, philosophy, literature, technology, physics, chemistry, biology have dominated global intellectual discourse. So there are other points of views that we can hear today if we can listen hard enough. Those observing global climate negotiation know about the Latin American way of looking at Earth as a Panchamama, Earth Mother. Pachamama. They also know how such a framing is just provided lip service and is ignored in the substantial portions of negotiation. In the Nutmakers, Ghosh explains why. He shows the extent of the vested interest in the oil economy and blah, blah, blah. It's a superpower, oil drilling, many also know that power utilities are 17, etc., etc. Now, coming back to the strategies now. Now, let's say the first strategy, if I'm using, all these answers are correct actually. Does it talk about the systematic violence used by the Dutch invaders? Yes. To illustrate the first incident in history when the processes responsible for climate change was initiated? Yes. To illustrate the role played by the cultivation of certain crops in the plantation mode in contributing to climate change? This is also an answer. And the last thing, to illustrate how colonialism represented and perpetuated the mindset that has led to the climate change? Yes, this is also an answer. The point what I'm saying is, in a strategy, if we are reading the answer choices before moving to the passage, your probability of marking a wrong answer is very high. Actually, if you read the answer choices before moving to the passage in an IQ test, your probability of marking it correctly would be around 20 to 30%. So basically, the mistakes which you may be doing, the probability will hover around 60 to 70%. But if the second strategy is read the passage, read the question first, go to the passage, predict an answer before moving into the answer choices. If you're predicting the answer, your probability of marking it correctly is 100% actually. Are you understanding two different strategies here? The first strategy, many of the teachers will be teaching you, पहले आप answer choices पढ़ लीजिए, go to the passage, and you will be able to mark, you will be have a guided tool. The teachers like me will say, I never say move into the answer, don't read the answer choices, because answer choices are done in such a way, if you have any, let's say, any error in an attention span in the, let's say, reading, if you're reading a passage, let's say in any part of the passage, your attention towards what you're reading in any way goes just below something, below the level you are in, you will mark it differently. Reason being, you have already read the answers and your mind actually is telling you by that time that yes, yeah, Dutch people talked about the violence. So what I'm saying is, if you look at this passage, this was asked in one of the slots, slot 3, I think, at different points in the passage, if you let's say, if your mind has a good attention span till now, your answer here will be 1. Okay. Now, if your attention span, let's say, is still around this level or this level, let's say, your answer choice will be 2. And let's say if your attention span is still here, your answer choice will be different. And let's say till here, your answer choice will be different. What I am trying to say is, if you know the options in answers before moving to the passage, the probability of you marking it wrong would be very high. So the two strategies, I have an opinion, my other teacher might have a different opinion. One topper would be using a different strategy, the other topper, and one influencer might be telling you a very different thing. Listen to everyone, experiment with every strategy, but never adopt it, never follow it. Your strategy would be unique on the basis of your own intellectual equity, own strengths and weaknesses, and that strategy you will not read it anywhere, or it will not come to you very naturally. when you will practice it, when you will do the hard work there, that strategy of yours, which would be unique to you, will come out. You will know that Mr. Vipul, whatever the teacher, Mr. Vipul sir was saying, it's not working with me. And what other teacher might have said is working with me, that topper, blah topper. You may have n number of things in your mind. Experiment with each and every strategy, and you will know what strategy works for you. And you may even develop a new kind of a strategy. So just looking at this passage, what I'm trying to say is, if you read it, knowing the answer choices, you move into passage, you will, your 20% or 30% chances of marking it in a correct way. I would say, and the same thing, I would say, if you are reading it, the second strategy would be, if you are before moving to the answer choice, you're predicting an answer, your accuracy will be 100%. And the other strategy of going to the options before moving to the passage, your accuracy would be around 20 to 30%, and that will make the big difference in any test. Now, these days, verbal is all about reading comprehension, and reading comprehension is all about IQ. And IQ, when we talk about, the point I'm just trying to say is, your intellectual equity will make your unique strategies. Now, so that completes the points. Anything else? Anything anyone wants to ask? Yes, Mr. Mohit, you are right. Mr. Mohit, see, what was the point I was trying to make in that was that a test is never a test of any subject. Many of the people will say that the banking is a test of maths and English. GMAT is a maths and English test. Might be IS people will say geography, anthropology, and what are the subjects. No test is a test of a subject. Every test is actually a test of your willpower and your consistency, actually. So different tests would be using a different subject. Some people may use math, some people may use anthropology, geography, physics. Some people will use English. Some tests might even use French. Some tests might even be talking a different language. But every test actually is a test of your willpower and your consistency into it.